What if there was a single chord that could make your progressions instantly more emotional, bluesy, or cinematic? Not through some wild, finger-breaking jazz voicing, but with something subtle. Something that's been right under your fingers all along. A chord that slots into your music and suddenly everything just feels right. Now if you've been playing for years and feel like your chords are sounding a bit stale, predictable even, this might be the fresh injection you didn't know that you needed. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that chord is, why it works so well, and more importantly, how you can start using it today. This isn't about tearing down your progress or relearning theory from scratch. It's about adding something that immediately gives your music more depth, more charm, and just that little bit of class. And if you're anything like me, you want things that sound good and make sense. So, what is this mystery chord? It's called a sixth chord. And whether it's major, minor, or one of the more exotic variations, it has the uncanny ability to soften a progression or sharpen its emotional impact, depending on how you use it. And trust me, once you start hearing it, you'll start reaching for it again and again. Let's start with the most straightforward version, the major sixth chord. This is just a major triad with an added major sixth above the root. As such, you'll see these chords written with the following numbers: 1, 3, 5, and 6. The natural sixth provides a smooth, bluesy nature to the chord. For example, if you take a C major chord and add the note A to it, you have a C major sixth chord. This is written as simply C6. Have a listen to the difference between these chords now. Suddenly, that basic triad becomes something smoother, more refined. In this case, the 1 chord was played as a sixth. You can also play the 4 and 5 chords in major keys as sixth chords, which makes them really versatile. Have a listen to the standard triads and the sixth chord version in the key of C major to appreciate the difference. If you've ever played a blues shuffle, you've probably already stumbled onto this. The back and forth between E and E6 is a bedrock of blues rhythm guitar. It's not complex, but it feels good, like tapping your foot without realising it. Typically, this is with notes removed to give you 2-note chords, also known as dyads. Have a look at this next example to hear this common sound in action. If you're playing the 1 chord in major keys as a sixth, then it pairs nicely with the augmented version of the 1 chord. If you want to learn more about augmented chords, I'll link to a video at the end of this one. Look at this example in the key of C major. The 5 note in C major is G. This then moves to the sharp 5, G sharp, in C augmented, and then up once more to the 6th note A in C6. You can even extend this idea by moving to the C7 chord. In this case, this would continue the move to the flat 7 note B flat. This chord is typically called the 5 of 4, which is a secondary dominant chord. Here's how this extended move could sound in a C major key progression. If you're finding this useful, then give the video a like. It really helps more people discover these tips. And if you'd like more insights like this every week, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next video that could take your songwriting to the next level. 6 chords have an interesting inversion relationship. If you play the 6th note in the bass, then you are playing a minor 7th chord. For example, if you take the notes of C6, which are C, E, G and A, and you play A in the bass, then you have an A minor 7th chord with the notes A, C, E and G. Have a listen to the difference now. If you play the C6 chord without its 5th, which is a common technique, then you could also call this chord an A minor chord in first inversion. Here's an example of these chords. I'll show you the minor sixth chord in a second, but if you're finding this all a bit challenging and you just want some help writing your first major key song, then check out my course, Write Your First Song in 1 Hour. Learn more at onehoursong.com or click the link in the description. Alright, let's not stop there, let's get a bit moody, because the minor sixth chord is where things really open up. If you take a minor triad and add a major sixth interval, you create a minor sixth chord. The notes in these chords are written as 1, flat 3, 5 and 6. So C minor sixth would have the notes C, E flat, G and A. Have a listen to C minor and C minor sixth now. In major keys, the only place you will diatonically find minor sixth chords is as the 2 chord. This means they can work well in the classic 2-5-1 progression. Have a listen to the difference it brings in this next C major key example, which uses the D minor sixth chord. In minor keys, the minor sixth features diatonically as the 4 chord. This means you can use them to add some interest and variety to your minor key progressions. Here's a simple example in the key of A minor to give you a feel for it. Minor sixth chords also have an interesting diminished relationship. If you take a minor sixth chord and play the 6th note in the bass, then the result is a half diminished chord. For example, if we use the C minor sixth chord from earlier, we know the notes are C, E flat, G and A. So if you instead play a chord with the notes A, C, E flat and G, then you have an A minor 7 flat 5 chord. Have a listen to both chords now to appreciate the difference. Alternatively, if you take a minor sixth chord and lower the 5th note, you create a diminished 7th chord. So looking at C minor sixth again, if you lower the 5th note G to G flat, you have a chord with the notes C, E flat, G flat and A. This is a C diminished 7th chord, which you can hear now. There are also 2 more types of sixth chords, or more accurately flat sixth chords, which, whilst not as common, are still worth knowing about. First up, if we take a major triad and add a flat or minor sixth interval to it, then we have a flat 6 chord. This flat 6 note strongly clashes with the 5th, as they are right next to each other. This chord isn't found diatonically in major or minor keys. Have a listen to this now with the C flat 6, which has the notes C, E, G and A flat. These chords sound a bit better when arpeggiated, as it gives the 5th and the flat 6 notes a bit of separation. If we take this minor 6th interval but add it to a minor triad, then unsurprisingly we have a minor flat 6 chord. These notes, 1, flat 3, 5, flat 6, are all in the minor scale, so this could feature as the 1 chord in minor keys, but it is rarely heard in full due to its intense dissonance. Have a listen to the difference between C minor and C minor flat 6 in the next example. Once again, you're most likely to hear these chords arpeggiated, as this allows for the dark notes to be separated out. Here's how that sounds. These chords have an interesting relationship with the major 7th chord. At first this might not seem obvious, as the major 7th has a smooth, relaxing nature, which is seemingly removed from the dark mess of the minor flat 6 chord. But look what happens if you play the flat 6 note in the bass. C minor flat 6 with the notes C, E flat, G and A flat becomes A flat major 7 with the notes A flat, C, E flat and G. Have a listen to how separating the 5th and the flat 6 notes opens up the chord and allows us to relax into the smooth major 7th sound contained within. If you move from minor to minor flat 6 to minor 6th on the same root, you can start to hear a sound that the James Bond theme is derived from. Here's an example of this. But, and here's the big one, if you really want to push your progressions even further, there's another secret weapon that you need to know about. Augmented chords. They're bold, they're slippery, and they can completely transform the way your music moves, if you know how to use them. Click on the video linked here on screen and I'll show you how to master augmented chords. It's simpler than you think, and it will give your playing a whole new edge. I'll see you over there.